Hello everyone, my name is Anotidaishe Gezana, a student at Africa University, the Valley of Dreams, studying international relations. So before I dive into my topic, kindly like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel. So my topic is going to be on conflict, security and governance and the impact of these three on the development of Africa, looking at the Africa Agenda 2063. So we're going to be looking at aspiration number 4, which talks about a peaceful and secure Africa, which aims for conflict resolution, peace building and security enhancement. So before I dwell into the nitty-gritties of my presentation, a short video is going to be shown to you so that you can be enlightened on the idea of the Agenda 2063. Stay tuned.
Africa has increasingly been faced with challenges of emerging conflicts that are commonly known to be the causes for various forms of crisis in the continent. Realizing peace and security in Africa is among the major responsibilities of the African Union. In this regard, the Crisis Management and Post-Conflict Reconstruction and Development Division is mandated to support and coordinate activities relating to the management and resolution of conflicts in the continent, as well as post-conflict reconstruction and development.
The Peace and Security Department has the overall responsibility of promoting but also preserving peace and security in the continent. And for this important endeavor, mostly with all the components of the Commission, and mainly the political department, because if we want really to act or to promote and preserve peace and security in the continent, we have no other choice than to implement not only the African peace and security architecture, but also the architecture for governance in the continent.
The main mandate or the role of the crisis management and post-conflict reconstruction is to ensure that we provide strategic policy guidance to our leadership in the Commission with respect to managing ongoing crises on the continent. And the objective is how can we ensure that when conflicts have erupted, that we can manage them properly in order to restore a degree of peace, security, and stability. One of the ways that we really engage in a very proactive manner is through mediation. And in the area of mediation, we work very closely with the Department of Political Affairs, the Bureau of the Chairperson, and in the past, I think what has become increasingly a norm or a practice for the AU is the use of existing or sitting and former heads of states as mediators or facilitators in conflict situations.
The African Union facilitates mediation process in the Sudan and South Sudan to help the two countries move forward.
The African Union are working with IGAD to support the process of mediation that is led by IGAD. Now, we have a high representative of the African Union nominated by the chairperson of the African Union. This is in the person of former president of Mali, Alpha Omar Konare. He was nominated to facilitate discussions in the region.
The components of the division are crisis management, post-conflict reconstruction and development, African Solidarity Initiative, AU Liaison Offices, cooperation with REX on PCRD. The Crisis Management Division contributes to the management and resolution of conflicts through assessing, analyzing, and monitoring crisis situations on the continent in order to inform the AU Peace and Security Council and the leadership of the Commission on the most appropriate forms of interventions in such situations.
There are two basic forms of interventions. One is
in Africa, ongoing instability, weak governance, and conflicts significantly impact the region's development. These challenges threaten economic growth, social stability, and progress toward the continent's development goals. In this presentation, We will explore how conflict and governance issues hinder development, the role of peacekeeping efforts, and the African Union's involvement, along with international support for conflict resolution. Instability, weak governance, and conflict are significant challenges to development in Africa, hindering progress in many areas such as economic growth, poverty reduction, and social well-being. These issues create environments of insecurity, undermine effective governance, and disrupt the social fabric, resulting in prolonged instability that impacts the region's ability to foster sustainable development. Weak governance often leads to poor policy implementation, corruption, and lack of accountability, which stifles growth and deepens inequality. These challenges are directly linked to Africa Agenda 2063, specifically Aspiration Number 4, which focuses on a peaceful and secure Africa. The agenda emphasizes the need for robust institutions, good governance, and conflict resolutions mechanisms to build a stable and prosperous continent. It acknowledges that without addressing instability and weak governance, Africa will struggle to achieve long-term peace, security, and development. Aspiration Number 4 envisions a future where Africa is free from conflicts, where governance systems are effective and are accountable, thus enabling inclusive and sustainable development for all its citizens. So one can note that conflict, instability, and weak governance have impact on different aspects of a nation. So for instance, there is economic impact, which talks about destruction of infrastructure, reduced foreign investment, and the loss of human capital. The second one is social impact. This encompasses the displacement, loss of lives, disruption of education, healthcare, and essential services. Then the other one is political impact, which talks about erosion of trust in government institutions, fostering corruption and lack of accountability. And we're also going to see the development goals and link the challenges to Africa's development agenda, such as Agenda 2063, which aims for economic growth, peace, and prosperity.
Welcome to the Valley of Dreams, where your dreams do come true. Africa University. They only come true if you choose the right degree, an undergraduate in international relations and diplomacy. This degree is taught by the best lecturers that Zimbabwe has to offer, the likes of Dr. Rusero, Dr. Pinduka, and Dr. Dinesa. They're not the only ones though. More. We have absolutely everything to give you. Human resources, marketing, journalism, and my personal favorite, diplomatic endeavors. The degree of international relations does not limit you. You can be absolutely anything you would want to be. And to you, my future ambassador, as the Vice Chancellor of Africa University once said in Matriculation 2024, leadership begins on your knees. Don't forget to pray now.
So as a starter, we're going to look at the economic impact. And this talks about the destruction of infrastructure, reduced foreign investment, and the loss of human capital. Aspiration 4 of Africa Agenda 2063 envisions a peaceful and secure Africa. It aims to achieve a continent where peace, stability, and good governance foster sustainable development and economic growth. However, the destruction of infrastructure, reduced foreign investment, and loss of human capital due to conflicts and instability significantly hinders this aspiration. Wars, conflicts, and political instability lead to the destruction of roads, bridges, power plants, and communication networks. This undermines trade, reduces connectivity, and increases the cost of doing business, preventing economic growth. Agenda 2063 recognizes that peace and stability are prerequisites for infrastructural development and economic integration. Reduce foreign trade, foreign investment. Investors seek stability and security before committing capital. Conflict zones deter foreign direct investment, leading to capital flight and economic stagnation. A peaceful and secure Africa, says Aspiration 4, would encourage investment, creating jobs and fostering industrialization. Loss of human capital, conflicts, results in the displacement, injury, or death of skilled workers, professionals, and entrepreneurs. The brain drain phenomenon weakens innovation and economic resilience, contradicting Agenda 2063's goal of leveraging Africa's human resource for development. So now we're going to move on to the social impact. This talks about the displacement, loss of lives, disruption of education, healthcare, and essential services, displacement and forced migration. Wars and political crises force millions to flee from their homes, leading to an increase in internally displaced persons and refugees. Overcrowded refugee camps and host communities struggle with inadequate resources, leading to poor living conditions and increased vulnerability to diseases and malnutrition. This contradicts the goal of a stable and inclusive Africa, where citizens should feel safe and secure in their own countries. Now we're going to move on to the loss of lives and psychological trauma. Armed conflicts and terrorism results in mass casualties, breaking families and leaving many children orphaned. Survivors from post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, depression and anxiety, reducing productivity and societal well-being. A peaceful Africa, as envisioned in Aspiration 4, would protect lives and ensure mental and emotional well-being for all citizens. Disruption of education. Schools are often destroyed, occupied by armed groups, or used as shelters or displaced families. Children are forced out of classrooms, with some being recruited into armed groups or forced into child labor. The lack of education limits future economic opportunities, perpetuating cycles of poverty and instability. Collapse of healthcare systems. Conflicts lead to the destruction of hospitals, shortages of medical supplies, and displacement of healthcare workers. Diseases outbreak become more common due to overcrowded refugee camps. Disease outbreaks become more common due to overcrowded refugee camps and lack of sanitation. Aspiration 4 promotes universal healthcare access, which becomes impossible. Aspiration 4 promotes universal healthcare access, which becomes impossible in war-torn regions. Breakdown of essential services. Electricity, clean water, and food supply chains are severely affected during conflicts, worsening humanitarian crisis. Public services collapse, leading to increased mortality and suffering, especially among vulnerable groups such as children and the elderly. A secure and peaceful Africa would ensure that all citizens have access to essential services and a dignified life. So here are some of the cases which are examples of these conflicts. So in Sudan, since 2023 to present, there's been economic impact. The war between the Sudanese armed forces and the rapid support forces has led to the destruction of infrastructure, disrupted trade routes, and collapsed Sudan's economy. And there's also social impact. Over 8 million people have been displaced, hospitals and schools have been destroyed, and famine is looming. Political impact. The war has eroded trust in government institutions, weakened governance, and allowed warlords to exploit resources, diverting funds from development.
I'm not moved by what I see. I know who I be. I just want my peace, make money day. I go get everything I need in my own timing. Koni kojami, koni dide. So many people deny. Oluwa don't go sign. Can't believe this my life. Everything come align. They look at me so surprised. Shamadelo don't buy. I know it's hurting your pride. Believe me, I don't mind. Party no they stop when we pop. Yeah, we have plenty spending like it's nothing.
So now we're moving on to Democratic Republic of Congo. Armed conflicts and instability. Economic impacts. Decades of instability have hindered investment in mining and agriculture, even though DRC is rich in natural resources such as cobalt, diamonds, gold, etc. The lack of infrastructure discourages economic growth, And now we're going to move on to the social impact. Millions have been displaced and government struggles to provide basic services such as healthcare and education. Now moving on to the political impact. Weak governance has allowed corruption and rebel groups such as the M23 and the ADF to control resources, preventing national development. And now we're going to move on to the political impact. Erosion of trust in government institutions, fostering corruption and lack of accountability. Erosion of trust in government institutions. Conflict and poor governance weaken state legitimacy, making people lose confidence in government's ability to provide security, justice, and essential services. When leaders fail to address crisis, provide social services, or uphold the rule of law, citizens become disillusioned, leading to protest, political apathy, or even rebellion. Aspiration 4 promotes strong, trusted institutions, but instability makes governments appear incapable or illegitimate. During conflicts, resources meant for development and social services are often misappropriated, fueling corruption. Governments facing instability may divert funds to military spending while neglecting healthcare. Lack of accountability and rule of law. Weak institutions and lack of oversight allow political leaders to act without consequences, leading to authoritarianism, human rights abuses, and electoral fraud. In conflict zones, the judiciary and law enforcement are often compromised, enabling impunity for war crimes, embezzlement, and oppression of opposition groups. Aspiration 4 calls for a just and fair society where laws are enforced equally, but instability undermines judicial independence and democratic governance. So now we're going to look at how these challenges threaten Africa's development goals, peace and security and governance, which is usually talked about in Aspiration 4. Wars, terrorism, and political instability prevent sustainable development. Corruption weakens institutions and erodes trust in governance. So in conclusion, one should know that conflict and weak governance undermine development, and one can also see that there is a great importance in the peacekeeping missions in Africa. So the final thought here is there is need for continued efforts in conflict resolution, promoting governance, and ensuring a stable, prosperous Africa for future generations. The road to sustainable development in Africa is closely tied to overcoming the challenges of conflict and poor governance. Through concerted efforts by the African Union, peacekeeping forces, and international partners, progress can be made toward a more peaceful and prosperous Africa. Thank you.
A culturally rich and diverse campus. State-of-the-art teaching technologies and facilities. Cutting-edge academic programs that are transformative, stimulating, innovative, and prepare you to leave your mark on Africa and beyond. Africa University offers you this and so much more. We are a private Pan-African United Methodist Church-related institution that is a hub of student-centered learning and a truly international campus experience. We are accepting applications from dynamic, driven, and passionate students from all over Africa for our August 2024 intake for undergraduate and graduate degrees. For more information on our programs on offer and how to apply, please visit our website at www.africau.edu or send an email to studentrecruitment@africau.edu or call us on +263 712 609 487. Africa University, investing in Africa's future.